listen for God's sound, because God's sound is the only sound that can call you out of that dark, isolated cave and call you back into your purpose. Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Imani and I was called to create faith-based content. And to be honest, I was really honest about this in my first video. I was nervous when God first instructed me to do this. But after that went away, I was kind of pumped. Like who don't get excited when God tells them that he about to use them? So I was like, okay, cool, God finna use me, bet it up. But you know what? I wish I wasn't so naive about what comes with this kind of assignment. So right before he called me to YouTube, he kept bringing me to the story about Prophet Elijah. And like not one or two times, but like 3, 4, 5 times he kept dropping this man's story in my spirit. And like as much as I love reading about just like stories in the Bible about regular people like you and me, and God using them in spite of them being, regular people, there was something in particular about Elijah's stories that like deeply resonated with me. Now, to give y'all a little context, Elijah pops on the scene in 1 Kings, right? And the Israelites, the Israelites are going through it, okay? They're going through a really tough time. So they're in this promised land, right? But King David and their beloved King Solomon, they're dead. So basically they got this new king who is literally in bed with the enemy. And as a result of all of this, the Israelites have basically allowed the surrounding cultures to influence them and pull them away from God, right? Now, lucky for the Israelites, Elijah was a G, okay? He was a G and he was a force in the kingdom. So pretty much as a way to get the Israelites to turn their hearts back to God, he decides, I'm gonna put on a little show, right? And I'm gonna prove that this Canaanite god, Baal, the one that had the Israelites all caught up, I'm gonna prove that he ain't about nothing. So he goes to King Ahab, and he pretty much tells him like, rally up all your little prophets of Baal. I think it was like 850 of them. Rally them up. Tell him to meet me on Mount Carmel, because we finna see like whose God is really about it. So pretty much he says that whoever's God responds by fire and consumes the sacrifice is the one true God, right? Long story short, all 850 of them little prophets started dancing and doing all this hoopla, right? Literally for hours. And Baal was silent to the lamb chops. No surprise there. So when it came time for God to do his thing, baby, he showed out, okay? All Elijah did was say a prayer and fire came down from heaven and consumed everything, okay? So basically when the Israelites saw that, they was like, okay, say less. So they killed all 850 of them prophets and recommitted themselves to God, which was the ultimate miracle, right? Now this is when the story gets interesting. So when King Ahab's wife, Jezebel, who was like a Baal super fan, like she was the worshiper of all worshipers of Baal, when she heard about all her little false prophets getting killed, she was hot, right? So she sent message to Elijah and was like, listen, in the next 24 hours, I'm on your head. Like, you're done. You're killed, right? And for some reason, this really shook Elijah. Like, this shook him to his core. Like, this shook him so bad, he left everybody and everything and, like, ran for his life. Now, let's pause for a minute. This man, Elijah, had literally just called down fire from heaven, turned a whole nation, like the entire nation of Israel, turned their hearts back to God. But when the enemy D'd up, he retreated. Like, he retreated to isolation. Like, he went off by himself. And scripture says that he literally prayed that he would die because he just felt like he was not good enough. Now, I'm not gonna lie, y'all, this comforted me because I've been in seasons recently where I was on fire for God, okay? Like, I was handling my kingdom business. But as soon as the enemy started to push back, I pulled back and literally forgot about all the work that God had literally just done through me. But this is why Elijah's story is one of my favorites, okay? Because God's response to Elijah's humanity was so clutch, okay? It was so clutch, all right? So boom. So he runs for his life, right? Ends up in the wilderness, falls asleep, long journey, takes a nap, gets woken up by some angels, who hands him a plate, okay? Hands him a plate and it's like, hey, eat, does this twice. He goes on a 40-day journey, ends up in a cave, and then God's response is so epic. So in 1 Kings 19, God starts asking Elijah, like, why are you here? And so Elijah starts giving him his little woe is me story. You already know how extra he be. And so God is like, all right, bet. I'm about to pull up on you. When you hear me, come outside. So right after that, Elijah hears this crazy, powerful wind. He feels an earthquake, and then he sees a fire. But he's like, nah, that ain't him. So he don't go outside. Then all of a sudden, he hears this gentle whisper, and he's like, there he go. So then he goes outside the cave. And this part of the story may not mean nothing to you, but the girlies that get it. Because baby, when you get to a place where you're able to recognize God's presence through a gentle whisper, you get to feeling real oily, okay? So Elijah was called to do the kingdom work he did because he could clearly hear God. And God knew that if he could just remind him of why he was called in the first place, he was then able to reignite that fire in his heart. So when I have them seasons where I start to feel out of sync with God, I like to read Elijah's story, because when he buckled in the face of adversity, God saw him, saw his humanity, comforted him, and then reminded him of why he was even called in the first place. And I don't know who needed to hear this. Maybe it was just me. But when you start to get into those seasons, and we already know that those seasons will come, we're not going to be naive about it no more. I encourage you to listen for God's sound, because God's sound is the only sound that can call you out of that dark, isolated cave and call you back into your purpose. One thing that God showed me this last time that I was in one of those seasons is that he knows me. He knows how I get, just like any parent would. And even though the enemy wanted me to feel condemned because he knocked me off my square for a little bit, I didn't feel that way. I felt comforted. And like Elijah, God allowed me to have the space and the time needed to be human. And when it was time, he released a sound. It called me out of that dark place, and he reminded me of why I was called in the first place. So I hope this video encouraged you. And if you're looking for a community of Kingdom Kids to vibe out with, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you never miss a video. Bye.